Welcome back. Getting to the end of the show, but let's talk a little bit about aviation before we say goodbye. The top story that was in Economic Times yesterday, talking about the aviation sector, was increased losses, which has forced the Civil Aviation Minister to sit up and take notice, and the fact that there should be no blind competition. What does he really mean? What's the way ahead for the aviation space? We have Ankur Bhatia, the Managing Director at Amadeus, and he's with us in our Delhi studios. Hi Ankur, afternoon. Thank you very much for being a part of our show this afternoon. Let me start with the fact that how Mr. Naresh Goyal, just a couple of days ago in his shareholders meet, took up and admitted the fact that this industry could be posting losses worth 2,200 crore. All is not well with the health of the aviation space. What is your assessment of, how bad the picture can really get?
Right. The situation as it stands right now is that there is a massive gap between the demand and the supply. The Indian aviation industry has actually seen overnight a boom by a lot of players actually jumping in, adding a lot of capacity on the Indian skies. And the growth in the number of the passengers has only come in because of the fact that these airlines, when they've come in, they've given fabulous prices. They're actually subsidizing travel for the end consumer and the corporations who are actually flying by taking the losses to themselves. So this is what is happening right now.
Right, Ankur, but what does this really mean? What are the implications for the travelers and commuters? Are we looking at higher airfares going forward now?
Well, for the time being, since the capacities are coming in, the average 6 or 7 airplanes are getting added every month. I only see that the trend will be only downwards. I think it's a boom time for the consumers right now. The fares, what they can expect right now, would never be seen before, and they will sustain for this time. These guys have deep pockets to fund that. But the problem will be in the long term when these airlines start to feel the cash crunch. At that given time, they would have to raise their fares or decrease capacities or rationalize capacities. At that given time, the fare levels are going to hit back. Just to give you an example, an average fare from Delhi-Bombay last year was around 6,000 rupees. But now this year average is 3,500 rupees or even lower sometimes. So whereas the fuel prices have actually gone up. So that is what is exactly happening in the aviation industry. That is that the newer players are subsidizing the overall impact, the overall costs for the consumers to fill in the planes.
So Ankur, you're saying that the airfares could actually get lower from here. Do you think they will maintain, or they'll get lower? Because here, the industry is first of all making losses, and secondly, we have the railways getting very aggressive in slashing rates and trying to get a share of the airline passengers onto the railways all over again. Do you think airfares, domestic airfares, they will sustain, or they actually have some scope to reduce further?
As far as the scope, first of all, let me talk about it. As far as scope is concerned, currently at the levels that some of the airlines and some of the sectors are selling, I don't think anybody is actually making money. The question remains is that, an airline seat is the most perishable commodity on the planet. As soon as the plane takes off, there is no way that you can actually sell that seat again. The question is that at what level do you want to sell that, rather than the plane or the seat going without a passenger on top of that. Now, if I see now from now onwards that from the current fare levels as well, that there would be additional amount of capacities coming onto the Indian skies because people have placed firm orders. So once that happens, of course, with the higher amount of capacities and specifically them being available between two sector points, what I can see is that fare levels could even come down lower unless and until airlines don't rationalize their capacities or don't maintain a certain fare level. But again, if they do that, then the passengers disappeared. You rightly said. Railways is also dropped their fares down. So, you will see a bit of move again happening from these low-cost freebie or 1 rupee, 10 rupee, 500 rupee fares, moving back to some of them actually going back to rail.
Right, but with Ankur, with so many companies unable to really sustain their profits, do you see any kind of consolidation perhaps happening going forward in the sector?
See, for the time being, the airlines which have come in with a corpus, they've come in with a fund, they've come in with a capital, which will make them last for some time. Now, till such time that capital does not get over with, of course, I mean, they would tend to fly. But the question remains is that this cannot go on forever. I mean, nobody is willing to run a business on losses forever. So they would need to have a rationalization at one given point, and that could be only consolidation. Right. The only fear factor there would be be that the end consumers and the corporates who suddenly got used to these fabulous fares and they've reduced or they've done their budgets and they've adjusted these budgets accordingly, they would have a challenge, because once this bubble bursts at that given time, they will have an issue of again revising their budgets at the prevalent prices at that given point of time. So that is something which needs to be watched out for.
All right, Ankur, our eye is, of course, very much on the aviation space, and it'll be interesting to see what part of the industry consolidates, the low-cost airlines, or we actually see a jet going ahead and picking up something else in the aviation space after the fallout of the Sahara deal. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this afternoon on the show. In fact, with that, we're totally out of time on Business Buzz. From myself and Rukmini, it's a goodbye, but we'll be back on Tuesday morning, and for now, news continues on Times Now, so stay tuned.
These days, if you're planning a holiday or a business trip, the chances are you'll go online to book your tickets. And in fact, that's a reason why travel companies these days, especially those based on the internet, seem to be enjoying the kind of boom that there is in travel. Internet-based travel companies, incidentally, have also seen 100% growth, and so it's the boom that's going to continue for them for some time.
There is hectic activity at the office of MakeMyTrip.com. And why not? It's an internet travel site. And every day, nearly 30,000 people buy air tickets through the net. That's nearly 30% of all air tickets sold in the country, earning the travel industry $700 million over the internet this year.
In terms of going forward, I reckon this market will more than double for the first year and then grow at a healthy pitch of about 60 to 70% after that. So the $700 million market should cross $2 billion by 2008.
The biggest drivers of this growth are low-cost airlines, who sell most of their tickets on internet. But even full-service airlines like Jet are trying to increase the number of e-tickets they sell because it reduces cost for the airline. But it's not only tickets that people are buying. They're also booking holidays over the net, and e-travel is now growing 70% year-on-year.
Handling paper is cumbersome, distributing of ticket stocks, collecting it, auditing it, then matching it and calculating the revenues. With electronic tickets, they do away with all these things, and airlines can save from anywhere between $2 to $7 or $8 in terms of international.
India at present has a little more than 7 million internet connections, which are used by around 40 million people. But internet connections are growing 30% annually. And with more and more consumers getting their hands on credit cards necessary for internet transactions, the travel industry is expected to be the driver for e-commerce in the years to come. In New Delhi, Arijit Banerjee for NDTV.
All right, that is a wrap on Business Prime Time. Thanks very much for watching, and stay with Profit. There's so much more coming up. Good night from me.